Missing rings, missing rings, missing rings, missing rings. I don't know what that is, but this is about missing NBA rings. And when the topic of missing NBA rings comes up, well, actually, I don't think it ever comes up, but if the topic of missing NBA rings ever does come up, wherever will come up, the first team that easily and quickly comes to mind is the 1993-1994 Seattle SuperSonics. And here's my 4 reasons for that. First, for the 93-94 NBA season, Seattle had the best record, as this was a season where Michael Jordan retired for the first time, and there was a great opportunity to win the exclusive NBA title. It felt like such a different year in the NBA without Jordan, and yes, I liked it. And then second, I really enjoyed watching Seattle play with their style, explosiveness, and their aggressive trapping and switching defense. Third, I kind of had the feeling that Seattle was somewhat of an under-the-radar team and not thought of that highly as other contending teams, and maybe that's because the Sonics were in the Northwest, which is idiotic to have that thinking, but that's how sports goes at times. But lastly, when I think about missing NBA rings and this Sonics team, it just ended so surprisingly and so suddenly. Now I want to begin talking about the faces of the Seattle SuperSonics franchise in the 1990s in Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton. First, Kemp was drafted 17th overall for the '89 NBA draft. At this time, Kemp was 19 years old. He committed to play at Kentucky but didn't play a single game in college. However, he declared himself eligible for the '89 NBA draft. This was at a time where it was basically all seniors and juniors being selected, but the Sonics took a chance on the 6'10 frontcourt player who was raw but just had an incredible and insane amount of athletic ability. During Kemp's rookie season, the Sonics finished 41-41. Seattle didn't make the postseason as they lost the playoff tiebreaker to Houston for the 8th seed. But that wound up being great for the Sonics as they got lucky with the ping pong balls. In the draft lottery, they had the 2nd selection overall and they drafted Gary Payton. Payton kind of struggled early on during his first 2 seasons, but NBA fans were gradually seeing an explosive dynamic duo developing in Seattle. The 93-94 NBA season was the first season where both Kemp and Payton would begin to earn all NBA awards, and then in Payton's case, all defensive team awards. Surrounding Kemp and Payton was a lot of talent thanks to GM Bob Whitsitt, who was also known as Trader Bob for all the trades he made. After losing to the Phoenix Suns during the '93 Western Conference Finals in 7 games, the Sonics would be one of the preseason favorites to win the NBA title for the 1993-1994 NBA season, and they played like it. So prior to the 93-94 NBA season, Whitsitt made a couple of trades to bring in more scoring that included a young Kendall Gill, who scored 20 points a game during his 2nd season, but then when Alonzo Mourning was drafted, his shot attempts went down. And then the Sonics also acquired a veteran scorer in Detlef Schrempf, but while making these trades, Seattle lost a very underrated and versatile player in Derek McKee. They lost Dana Barros and Eddie Johnson, who I'll talk about more later on. This was the main 5 for the Seattle SuperSonics for the 93-94 NBA season, as this was a tough 5 to guard. All 5 of these guys could score, including Sam Perkins, who was a smooth big man who could shoot from the outside. But this Sonics team was also deep, with 3 guys who were tough and could really play defense in Nate McMillan, Vincent Askew, and Michael Cage. Now real quick, I have to talk about Michael Cage because I don't think I'll ever get to him in another video. But anyways, Michael Cage was the first athlete I can remember having a Jerry curl, and this was with the Clippers, and it was awesome. I was a huge Michael Cage fan, and for some reason early on, I thought Cage looked like the toughest and meanest player on the court. And of course, we all know he's much better than this Cage and that Cage. But enough of that. Lastly, the Sonics had a really solid scorer in Ricky Pierce coming off the bench. I remember Pierce being someone tough to guard while with the Bucks, and back then I was thinking, wow, this Sonics team is deep. Anyways, the Sonics, they got off to a quick start for the 93-94 NBA season, starting off with a 26-3 record and finished with the best record in the NBA at 63-19. The top-seeded SuperSonics first-round matchup in the playoffs would be against the 8th-seeded Denver Nuggets, and of course, the Sonics were favorites. A number 1 seeded team up to this point had never lost in the first round to an 8th seeded team. It nearly happened last year to the Suns, but anyways, for Game 1, it was all Seattle. And once again for Game 2, Seattle won by double digits. However, something strange happened that some may say was a turning point. During halftime of Game 2, Gary Payton and Ricky Pierce really got into it. It was later reported that it even got to a point where there were threats of guns being involved. On a DJ Vlad interview with GP, basically he said it was an issue about respect, and how Payton thought he was being talked to like a little kid from Pierce. GP admitted he went too far. Furthermore, a Basketball Network article by Will Starjacki mentioned that Nuggets center Dikembe Mutombo said the turning point of the series was when his Denver team heard the Sonics already checked out of their hotel prior to Game 3. Now moreover, Nuggets coach Dan Issel made a couple of changes that really made a difference. He went with a bigger lineup which caused problems for Shawn Kemp. Dikembe Mutombo played tremendously on defense during this series. And with the struggling Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Issel decided to give the explosive Robert Pack more playing time, and I just want to mention that it's always kind of bamboozled me as to why Pack never got more minutes throughout his NBA career. But anyways, Pack made some dynamic plays and shot the lights out from the field. Pack not known for his shooting, but this was perhaps the best he has ever shot during a stretch during his NBA career. The Nuggets won Game 3, then for Game 4, with Seattle up by 3 points with 45 seconds left, Shawn Kemp missed 2 free throws. Pack then hit a 3-pointer to tie it up, and then the Nuggets won in overtime. But for Game 5, Seattle was at home, and at home, they won 37 of 41 games during the regular season. However, Seattle lost in overtime to Denver and lost the series, and this image of Dikembe Mutombo has always stuck with me. The Seattle SuperSonics became the first top-seeded team to lose in the first round. Now I want to finish this video with a quote from Seattle big man Steve Scheffler. As a kid, I always just kind of looked at the talent what's on the court. Later on, I began to understand other items, such as leadership, but talent is obviously the most important thing. At the time, this looked like a great trade for Seattle, acquiring a young Kendall Gill, who was the best player involved in the deal. And we can see talent and know the talent that's on the court, but what we really don't know is the leadership aspect, the chemistry aspect, that locker room. I loved the Seattle team and loved watching them, as they were the team I wanted to win in 1994. But after seeing this quote, I wonder how much of an impact Eddie Johnson would have had with his presence in that locker room during those playoffs against Denver. Now I really don't know, and I don't think anyone truly knows. But maybe the 93-94 Seattle SuperSonics would not be a team with the missing ring if they had Eddie Johnson. Real quick, I just want to thank all those who have supported 90 Sports Nostalgia. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and check out the links below for Patreon and merch. Thank you so much. Missing NBA rings, the 1993-1994 Seattle SuperSonics.